Thanks for joining me again, everybody. Boy, it sure was a beautiful morning out there today with the fog rolling in here at the end of fall. You just don't get too many like that. But we've got some really bad weather coming in tomorrow night. We've got temperatures that are going to drop down into the 20s Fahrenheit, so that's way below freezing. That's almost as cold as it gets around here. And today it was up into almost the 80s, so it's a huge temperature swing. Most of my fish are probably not as hardy and prepared for the winter as they normally would be, and my plants definitely aren't. So I had to go out today, had to move some Medaka around into some different ponds. So I'll talk about that a little bit, show you what I was doing. Had to get some trees moved around because normally if the wintertime had progressed in a more linear fashion, it hadn't been up and down. It's been relatively warm. And it will warm back up after this weekend. If that had been the case, if it just progresses in a steady way, the plants and the fish kind of hardy up. They get acclimated to it a little bit better. But with this big swing coming, record lows, probably going to be close to actual 20 degrees here at my house. Had to move some things around. So let's go out in the yard, see what I was doing, and figure out maybe if these guys will last. If you want to know how Medaka do in the dead of winter, check some of my older videos. I've got a lot of content with very few views when I first started the channel that goes into a lot of detail, and you can see Medaka under inches of ice right here in my backyard. So check that out if you want to, but let's go out right now and see what I had to do to prepare for this big storm that's coming in here in the second week of November. So with this crazy weather coming in, man, you got to make some decisions, you know. This tub is 110 gallons, as you can read right there. It's 110 gallons. It's going to be freezing pretty much all day on Monday. But it's going to warm back up maybe 36 hours after it gets very cold. So it's not going to be a sustained freeze. So this tub, I think, is going to be just fine. What we're going to have a real problem with is probably these out here next to it. So like this guy right over here, that's a lot of very young fish that are in there. Bunch of little bitty fellers. I think what I'm going to do is move those into another pond that is got a partially buried bottom, because that one, as you can see, is totally exposed. So I think I'm going to get those protected, even though I don't think that's going to freeze. Now, right up above them, in that real janky tub right there, are some more Medaka, and those have got to come out because that little thin thing doesn't have much water in it. It's about half full right now. So those have got to come out, and most importantly, that right there has got to be dealt with. That is a glass aquarium outside, and it's going to be 20 degrees here soon, so I've got to get that guy dealt with right now. I got all the guppies out of this a while back, but there's a lot of cherry shrimp in there. So what I've got to do now is collect most of those while I'm draining this water out, and then get all of the water out, and maybe try to salvage some of this gravel for another project before it loses its beneficial bacteria. So I probably missed a few, but that's what we got out of there. I think I put 6 in there in the springtime, maybe 8. But we got a bunch. And I'm sure there's a whole ton left. I see a few right now. I'm going to try to get the rest of them. And then we're going to release these into one of these ponds outside so they can live the rest of the winter. So Medaka are such fun little fish to kind of raise that I can actually just go over here and use this cup to scoop them out with. I've done this a couple of times already. They may be getting wise to me. Let's see if it'll work one more time. And so we get a little cup full of Medakas. There we go. And it's that easy. Now I'm going to pour these through a net, and then I'm going to put them in this tub right there. Let me pour them through the net, and I'll show you the release. Buddies. Very simple. A lot of traffic today. So I've pretty much got all of them out of that small tub and scooped them over into here, and I know that they will survive the winter in this tub. I have experienced it many times already. It will freeze over a little bit in the dead of winter, but it won't kill any of the fish. I usually have a pretty good survival rate, 80, 85, 90% of them will make it to the springtime, man. So let's see what else needs to be done out here for this winter storm 2025. Now what we got here is a little bit of the Java fern. I'm not sure what variety this is. It is not my favorite plant. It grows so slow. But the good thing about this is I know it will survive in my ponds over the winter. It has survived and reproduced in most of these, even though they freeze over every year. So I'm gonna stick this guy down in there, see if I can't find him a little home over there on this little embankment, this little stick I've got going on. Now hopefully the goldfish won't pull him out. I like that ranchu being in there. He really keeps things clean, to be honest. He tears stuff up, but he keeps things clean. If you know goldfish, you know what I'm talking about. If you have too many of them, they get to be a burden. But one of them kind of eats all the bugs and stuff for me. His buddy died because he ate too many bugs. Anyway, got some Java fern in there. Everything's looking pretty good. The water temp is pretty low in there, but none of those fish are gonna mind. So that little tub right there with the very thin plastic, that's the cheapest kind of plastic tub you can buy, has a really great population of red cherry shrimp in it. Let's go over there and take a look at it right quick. This tub is not very exemplary in any way, except it has had a colony of dang shrimp in here. They have just been killing it. I mean, there's a ton of shrimp. I missed one Medaka that was hiding in that rock pile. But whatever goes on in there with those rocks, those shrimp love it. So I'm actually going to leave this tub set up, I think. It will freeze. I don't know. Maybe I'll fill it back up with water and just cross my fingers for the winter time with those guys. We'll see how it goes. Now with my main pond we've been looking at here with the little waterfall, I've got to shut this bog filter, this kind of, whatever you call it, this hybrid filter thing that it's running with. I've got to shut that down at some point this winter, but I'm going to wait until the temperatures are consistently cool enough to cause it to freeze, because right now it's going to be just fine, even though it's going to be down to 20 record-setting lows. The waterfall will probably freeze a little bit, but it will still flow because the pump is way back down in there, and this will not freeze solid. So we'll see how it does. I'll be monitoring it. If it looks like it's struggling, I will cut it off, let it run dry. So for you folks new to my channel, this is my Medaka pond here by my front door. I'm not going to get too close. I'm going to try to zoom in so you can see them. They're really having a ball out here today in the sun. Now we've got a weather event coming up, like I've talked about. This pond doesn't care. As you can probably tell, it is basically in the ground. Not completely, but I would say 80% of it is under the dirt, and then the rest of the top of the actual pond is kind of dirted in and has rocks around it, so it's pretty well insulated. Plus that's a double-walled plastic pot that makes up the actual pond, so it's pretty well insulated. Those fish can stay out all year long. They don't care how hot, how cold it gets. I will shut the pump off eventually, but not today. Not because of this thing. It's not going to be cold enough for long enough to freeze the whole filter. So I'm just going to let it run and all those guys will be fine. However, if we look across the way here to my Japanese style biotope, if I can get my camera situated, these guys are probably not going to fare as well. And the reason why is pretty obvious. There's no insulation here. It's not underground. It's just got wooden panels on the outside, and there's nothing in between those pieces of wood and that concrete tub. So I'm afraid these guys might not do as well. I had always intended on taking the actual fish out of this before wintertime hit. There's only 4 Medaka in here, so I'm about to get them out. But the shrimp I know will do just fine. As long as they don't actually freeze, they will do just fine. So we're gonna run a little test here. Hopefully this pond does not freeze all the way over. I'll see how it goes. I may end up breaking it down towards the middle of winter, but I want to see how it goes. So I'm going to get these guys out and put them in another one of my tubs, another one of my ponds out back. And then the final chore I have for this winter storm preparation is really with these guys. And these are some white cloud mountain minnows that have really thrived in this filterless tub that I did not mean to really keep outside. I just set it out here one day because I was about to break it down. And then the day after, I noticed that there were a lot of fry on the surface. So they've been thriving out here. There's a lot of shrimp in there. But this is another case of I don't know if these fish will make it through the winter. If they were in a regular pond that was not going to freeze solid, I would have no problem with it. But I'm going to have to break this guy down at some point. I don't think I'm going to have to do it now, though. It's about 15-20 gallons. There's only about 36 hours of cold, so I think they're going to be all right, but I do have to deal with them at some point. These guys, pack your bags, boys. It's time for a little trip. All 4 in the scoop. Let's see how these guys turned out. Let you guys see them. I'll get those fellers in there. Very healthy, and they'll go into a much deeper tub around back. Spend the winter. So you can keep Medaka outside year long, even if your tub or your pond freezes over. As long as it doesn't freeze solid, you'll be good. I've done this many years in a row, and they live just fine. I'm not going to say it's 100% survival because that's, it's hard to tell why they die, but I get about 80 to 85% make it through the winter. And around here, it's zone 8A in America. And so we get down to the teens a couple of times, maybe even 10 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's well below freezing. But these guys will do just fine. They'll go into a dormancy, and I will feed them much less. and they will make it through the winter and breed next year, and we'll have a good time. It's a lot of fun raising these little guys. They're out here in my little Japanese garden, and yeah, here we go. Out here in my little rock garden that I have to continuously get the leaves out of this time of year. It's pretty hard to maintain, but we'll wait a couple more days. If you want to take a look at the fall colors here in North Georgia, it's a pretty spectacular thing. My Japanese maples are a little past their prime. That one is a beautiful tree. Speaking of trees, I'll take you back there and show you what I do with my bonsai for some weather thing like this. So first off, here's my future bonsai. We've got some boxwood, some sweet gum, bald cypress, Chinese elm, all kinds of things growing right here in my front yard. People think I'm crazy for doing this, but man, those boxwoods have tripled in size in the last couple of years, and they're some kind of expensive variety. But that's one thing to do if you're into bonsai, is plant them in the ground, let them grow for a while. Let's look at these other ones, the Winterizing. Now, because we're having this flash freeze weather event, all of these junipers need to be protected. They're not really ready for their winter dormancy. They'll do fine, mostly unprotected, once they kind of acclimate, but it's 75 degrees out right now. My maple's got to go in. That little forest has got to be pulled back here under the shelter. Now, why are all these right here? Because I'm under my carport. So they're out in the weather. They're going to get the freezing temperatures. They're just not going to be frosted on as hard, and it's not going to be quite as harsh. The wind won't hit them as bad. Now, to finish up with our Medaka fish tank talk here outside for the moment, that peace lily has got to go, because he is going to die hardcore tomorrow if I don't get him out. So I'm going to have to just pull that out here in a minute, stick it in a bucket of water, spray it off really good with some water hose power before I bring it inside. Some of my more hardy bonsai, these boxwoods, they can hang out under the bench during this event. Some of those junipers under the bench, they should be okay, get some protection, but still get the freeze. But you'll notice my bench is almost cleared off, which is usually doesn't happen until late December around here. It's very odd. Some of those guys I've got to move around a little bit, but most of them will stay out for the rest of the winter right where they're at. Let's take a look at this other pond over here. Now, I'll have to pull some of these plants out of here. The creeping fig will not live. That grass will do just fine. It's been out here for a few years. It's starting to get its fall colors. All of that stuff will die. So I'll have to pull that out tomorrow and either find it a new home inside, which I don't think is going to happen because it's starting to die back already for the fall. So he'll probably just go into the compost, and we'll reuse that leca for something next year. There you see the Japanese maples turning colors, ready for fall. There's my chickens.